gain, it should reduce your noise floor, right?
Yep.
On your...
Which is really good news for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. So I figure, hey, if I'm still stuck here all this time.
I mean, we're going to be doing the show remote like this for at least another 6 months.
Yeah, minimum. Who knows? And I'll probably use it for other things as well.
Yeah. Oh, remind me, this weekend I got a few leads on doing some pilot episodes for Meg TV. And
yeah, I was about to talk
about
Meg TV. It's on my list.
If that falls through, we'll just take those interviews and put them up on Geek Nights. That's my plan.
Yeah.
So I got 2 people. Anyway, let's do the show because I already am getting hungry and I still got to exercise.
Got to cook.
Yep. It's Wednesday, October 14th, 2020. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, we are talking about an anime I am confident none of you have actually watched. Extra Olympia Kikilos. Oh, we didn't actually come up with an Opie bit. We just talked. We just hung out.
What the fuck did I...
Do you have anything? Because I got nothing. I already talked about those hikers that I left to die in the woods.
The house?
I've been watching a lot of stuff.
Oh, I do have an Opie bit. The fail of my day that was I posted in the forum.
Oh, that's good. All right, anytime.
Did you read that?
Yes.
Did you read that?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, you can go anytime.
All right, so check this out. This ridiculous thing happened, right? And it's not over yet, so there might be a follow-up, which is good because we need Opie bits, right? So
we need novelty in our
something.
Lives.
I pre-ordered something from CD Japan. If you don't know, CD Japan is basically a website where you can buy Japanese, media, physical medias, right?
They've been around for a while.
They've been around for a long time. I think I ordered the first time I ever ordered something from there, I was in college. So they've been around for at least 15, 20 years. And it's not a cheap website, but it is very reliable and trustworthy and legit. They will send you real products, right, for the price you pay. And they won't, you're paying full price, but you're not getting ripped off. So there you go, free advertising for CD Japan. But there was these Evangelion anniversary OSTs that I ordered a long time ago. I pre-ordered them many, many moons in advance. And my idea was, it might be a little difficult to get digital versions of these, right, anywhere, even piracy. So I'll be the one to rip them and then I'll sell it at Book Off or something, right? Which I've done in the past with Japanese DVDs and CDs, buy them, rip them, or cash them in, right? Get you most of your money back. So what happened was as long as when you're living in New York, packages sometimes say they're delivered and they're not.
Sometimes I've never had that happen in a decade.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, sometimes it
happens.
I've
had the opposite where something was delivered, but I didn't order anything.
Oh, okay. Sometimes it happens because it got delivered to the wrong address. Sometimes the market is delivered to make Amazon happy that the thing was delivered on time and then actually deliver it the next day.
Nah.
Right? So that Amazon's not like, hey, this was delayed, right? And gets mad at the post office. Sometimes, it gets stolen. It happens, right? If you have a doorman, that doesn't happen as much.
Yeah.
So this package said it was delivered, but my building didn't have it. And the next door building didn't have it. And the next door building didn't have it.
Ah, that's a good check. Because once a package got delivered to the other identical building next door.
Yep. So I finally go, and this thing always happens to me, regardless of whether it's a missing package or a bug report for software or basically any problem in life. You reach that point where you're trying to solve it yourself. You can't solve it yourself, and you end up emailing somebody. Right, to get the help. It's like, well, I guess I got to contact customer service now. And I shoot off the email. And immediately after shooting off the email, I discover the problem. Happens every time. So it's happened. And it's it feels like it happens very, very often to me where I send the email and then solve it. And I wish I hadn't sent the email, but you can't pull email back.
Yep.
Anyway.
In fact, I remember way back when we first moved into Beacon, you ordered that the Leatherman and it didn't arrive. And then you told Amazon, that was the early days of Amazon, I was buying stuff on it. You were like, hey, I didn't get my Leatherman. And they sent another one, and it literally arrived the day you sent that email, and we got 2 Leathermans.
Yeah, well, but it was horribly destroyed.
Yeah.
So that package definitely went through the ringer. Anyway, the point is that what happened to this package? Why was it not here? Why was it delivered? So, it had been so long since I had used CD Japan that I was careless and I didn't check the shipping address or the billing address. And usually you don't have to because they'll catch you and be like, "Hey, we're not delivering there. That doesn't match your credit card or whatever." But they didn't. They just sent it.
I have noticed my credit card is super lax on that in the last 5 years.
They used to be very strict, and now they're very, very lax.
Yep.
So was it sent to my previous apartment? If that's the case, I could have just biked over there and walked over there and gotten the package, right? Just rung the doorbell or whatever there, or contact the person who lives in that apartment now. No, it was not sent there. Right? Where was it sent? Apparently, the last time I ordered anything from CD Japan, I was working at my previous job at Broadway.com.
Oh, my company specifically disallows anyone having anything delivered to the office.
My current company does, but Broadway.com didn't, and I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't abuse it and do it too often, but I would do it for things like something from Japan that I don't want to get stolen, right, on my doorstep, right? So I did it occasionally. That's the address they had on file, and it got sent to the Broadway.com office. So I tried to call them, and no one was there.
Well, that actually makes sense.
Yeah, I know that Broadway is closed, and I know a lot of people at that company have been furloughed because Broadway is closed. And I know that I was just very, very lucky in my timing of deciding to change jobs about 2 years ago. If I had not done so, I might be in trouble right now, right? So yeah, that package presumably is in that building somewhere. It could just be like sitting on a desk, or maybe no one's on the floor. Maybe it's at like the door person at the bottom of the building has it. I don't know who has it over there.
We got to do a heist. Let's break in and get it.
I left a voicemail, right? And no one got back to me. So I might have to like figure out who to email. I don't know who's still there to email, even if I did email. So yeah, it's going to be interesting trying to get the package. Like if I just go and get it, it's going to look like I'm going into a building and stealing a package.
Yep. It's interesting that who do you email problem, because this is not a problem now. Like I'm pretty much set in my career, but when I was trying to get a bigger job in my early days and I applied to jobs, I always wanted references from previous employers, but multiple of my previous employers had gone out of business. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these forms like required a phone number and an email address and an address and all this stuff.
My real problem is that like I go to the website and it's like the person I actually want to contact, it's like, yeah, usually they're keeping like CEO's email secret and stuff, right? Yeah. It's like, I want to contact the reception desk. And it's hard to do that, apparently. Right? Like the place I'm trying to contact is the place that they should be trying to make me contact instead of anyone else. I'm not trying to contact someone to like, ask for a job or some shit.
Usually it's like they're trying to prevent
sell anything.
Yeah, usually they're trying to prevent you from like bothering Tim Apple or Steve Google.
Exactly. I'm not trying to do that. I want to talk to the reception desk where the package is.
I did learn a trick a long time ago from a guy I was working with. He did sales stuff, but he would send emails to generic common white dude name at company.com, because even if the company had naming conventions, usually old white dudes who worked there had special exceptions and had emails like Steve at company.com. Mm-hmm. And that usually worked, and he actually got people to respond to him. And it was something you can keep in the back of your head if you know that the CEO of a company is an old white dude, and you want to get in contact with that person, and you know their first name.
Yep, but the thing is, usually that works at certain size companies, but when you get really big, right? If you email,
that goes to like the administrative assistant of the executive management group.
Right. If you email, like just me, if I send an email to like Jeff at Amazon.com or Jeff Bezos at Amazon.com, it goes to probably someone whose job it is to read that email box.
Yep.
That's probably a job.
Even when I worked at IBM, I had a shared secretary, so no one could call me directly. They would call, and someone would call me and say, "Hey, this person is trying to contact you. Do you want to talk to them, or should I get rid of them?"
The only time outside people try to contact me is they're recruiters, or they are a vendor that I have already worked with and has my email somehow. It's like you start, manage, like I'm managing like, Oz stuff. I'm logging into the Oz account. Oz has my email. So the Oz sales associate calls me and is like, hey,
buy some more Oz.
It's like, not got enough Oz. Okay. I know what I'm doing.
So in some minor news, Kippo and the Age of Wonderbeasts, which I've talked about multiple times on the show. I think I've geek-bited it several times because it had 2 seasons. The third and final season just hit Netflix like 2 days ago. So that's what they wanted to do. That is the end of the show. The show is complete. It is exactly what it was intended to be. And I have not seen season 3, but based on how season 1 and season 2 went, I'm very excited about season 3. That show is just a solid stand-up kids show. And I learned something. Remember when I geek-bited it, I talked about how they had a character kind of just come out as gay, like not even a big deal, like in the middle of a random episode. Apparently, that was literally the first time that has ever happened explicitly on an animated show in America that was rated all ages.
Okay.
That is both good news and just really, really sad news. Like, yeah, great, but really?
In 2020?
The late 2019 was when we hit that milestone.
Okay. Took that long?
But
in some ways we're ahead, and in some ways we are so behind.
Yep. So you got any other news?
Yeah, just, I know we've talked in the past because we saw the first 5 minutes of it at Annecy, digital Annecy. But the much-awaited CG Lupin III movie, known as Lupin III: the First.
I'm hoping they make Lupin III the First too.
I hope so. But anyway, for all intents and purposes, appears to be a excellent execution of the Lupin formula. We're going to know when we see the whole thing. It's going to be in theaters on the October 18th and 21st. I think we've discussed that recently, which is basically less than a week away. If theaters where you live are even open, don't go. Right? We wouldn't, but our theaters are closed. We can't go, so their decisions made for us.
They're open in New Jersey.
Right. So my plan was, of course, just wait until it was available somehow digitally, or maybe even hope someone else gets a Blu-ray and rips it, or get a Blu-ray, rip it, and sell it at Book Off. Right? Right. But it has now been announced GKids is going to put it on digital, which is the kind of not the digital Netflix kind, the kind where you go to Amazon or iTunes or somewhere like that, or YouTube, and pay money to download it, and then you can watch it as many times as you want. So it'll probably cost $15 plus, who knows. That will be on December 15th. And the Blu-rays and the, I guess, Steelbook, which is just Blu-ray in a fancy case, those will be available on January 12th, 2021.
The Steelbook comes with an exclusive 18 by 24 inch lithograph.
Yeah, I mean, my days of buying those were brief.
In fact, 15
plus years ago.
100% of the lithographs I owned were Star Wars lithographs.
I think the only fancy, I bought a Trigun DVD that had a thing of some kind in it. I bought a Macross box set that had a thing in it.
Oh no, I bought those lithographs standalone. I paid like $20 for these Star Wars lithographs. I'm just talking about DVDs
I bought that had special stuff, right? So I think
I had the Eye of Vogler that came with my giant Robo.
True. I had a Voltron.
I threw that Voltron away.
First season of Voltron and first season of Transformers both had stuff in them.
Yeah.
And then Gundam Seed, I guess I had a box that I slowly filled that had stuff. And those, I guess, the only DVDs I bought with stuff.
Oh, right. You bought Gundam Seed with the box that came with DVD 1, and then you filled the box with the rest of the DVDs.
Yeah, and now that's all gone. I have the discs. I don't have
Wow, remember when shows would come out like episode by episode or DVD by DVD?
Those DVDs had 4 episodes on them, I think, so they were not a bad deal.
I mean, that was the old anime thing. You'd get a VHS or a DVD, it would have 4 episodes, and they'd come out about once a month. So you basically had to either have the discipline to only watch 1 episode a week, or you'd get that DVD, you'd watch all 4 episodes, and then you'd say, fuck, because there's a cliffhanger, and wait a month.
Those are the only DVDs I ever bought with special stuff, and I'm surprised they still make those and that someone still buys them.
People love that stuff.
All right, well, yeah, I love this movie, I hope. Very likely. So we're going to be doing an episode on it. You can expect the first Wednesday after December 15th that there is a Geek Nights episode.
And there probably will be, because there's no way we're traveling for the holidays this year. It's not like we're going anywhere.
If my job does not increase the amount of vacation days I can hold over to 2021, in which case in 2021 I'll be going on a mega vacation as soon as that is safe to do. if that does not happen, I have a lot of vacation days to use in December. And I already have the final week of December off from Christmas to New Year's anyway, by default. I will basically not be working most of December if they do not increase the numbers. So I will definitely be watching this movie on December 15th, which would probably be a day that I won't be working.
So some other news, if you're not familiar with this, because it's in Queens, there is a museum called the Museum of the Moving Image.
You want to know something really funny about this museum?
Yeah.
So this is a museum that, I went to once, and then I would go to occasionally, once or twice a year, for like screenings of movies or whatever.
Yep, I'd always go for a screening or like a special exhibition that's only there for a limited time. Special exhibition,
or someone's visiting or you're hanging out with a new person and you take them there because they haven't been there, but you've been there, right? So, it was always this situation where, museums have memberships, right? And the deal with the museum membership is that if you go enough or you attend enough of their events, it ends up paying for itself. Right.
Yep.
And you get to cut the line, and you can just go to the museum for free. You don't have to pay tickets every time. It's great.
It's the kind of thing you do, especially like botanical gardens are a good place to get that kind of thing.
Exactly. Any sort of physical location, arts and educational institution place, right? Museums, galleries, that sort of thing. So, special libraries, right? So, I would calculate every year, like, how many times did I go? Because I can walk there. I can city bike there in 5 to 10 minutes. It's right fucking
you're
there.
way close to it, even compared to us. And it's a short walk for us.
Pretty equidistant. It's like triangular. Anyway.
I think you're closer.
Who knows?
Maybe I'll Google Maps while you're talking.
Okay. The point is, I would calculate, was the membership worth it? And it was always pretty borderline whether the membership was worth it. So this year I was like, I think last year, the membership would have been worth it the number of times I went, because I think I went extra
so you
times.
Finally pulled the trigger.
2020 was the year. The beginning of 2020, I got a membership, and then I went to PAX East.
That's definitely a shame.
Because 2019, if I would have been member in 2019, I would have saved money.
But we have seen some kind of amazing stuff at that museum over the years. Like,
it's a fantastic museum.
Like, give you an example of what this place is like. It is one of the only places in New York that can actually screen a nitrate print, like those old film stocks. Mm-hmm. Like, it has a bunch of cool stuff like that.
You can see everything there, from a complete collection of Star Wars toys to actual models of, those buildings in Blade Runner, and in the scenes where it's like showing you the cameras going over all these, the Cyber City, right? They have the actual models that were filmed. They got all sorts of, ridiculous stuff there and they screen movies in 70 millimeter regularly.
Yeah. So what they are doing is they're not doing so hot because of COVID, obviously. And
right, the current exhibit was like a big 2001 exhibit, because they show that movie a lot because they have a 70 millimeter print and people go to see it occasionally. They had the actual Babby. Like, I saw it. We went to the exhibit before they closed it. But I mean, before the museum closed.
So they ain't doing so hot. So they have a Kickstarter that just launched to help them fund a bunch of online stuff and get things going to try to bring as much of their content as they can to people during COVID, and also kind of to help them survive until post-COVID.
They have a lot of awesome stuff. Like, you see the awesome stuff that's on display there. They have a lot of awesome stuff that is not on display.
Yep. Like, they preserve props from a bunch of famous movies, even if you can't go see them. Like, they do
their YouTube channel. Yeah, their YouTube channel will show you all kinds of good stuff. So,
yep. So
and they also have lots of amazing video game exhibits, because it's not a movie museum. It's the moving image. So any moving image, animation, right? They have there's a little section there where they show you there's like a live. It's like basically a fake TV studio there that shows you what it would look like if you were sitting in the tractor trailer outside the baseball stadium, controlling the broadcast for the baseball game.
Yeah. So the rewards are part of the reason I'm bringing this up is that this museum is really important and it really needs to survive. The other reason I bring it up is that the rewards...
My neighborhood's going to be way crappier if it closes permanently.
Yep. The rewards are pretty interesting because they're trying to be clever with it. Like, And one tier, they give you like special Zoom backgrounds and Twitch emotes. Like
okay.
they know the deal. The $20 tier is a bread baking demonstration with some famous people.
Okay.
Like they're going to basically have a limited number of people like sit in the Zoom call and like learn how to make bread with some fancy people. Copies of some publications they put together. There's a bunch of cool, interesting stuff. But yeah, if you care about moving images in any way, like if you want to, in the year 2060, be able to go to this place and see an exhibit on the rise of animated GIFs, this is the kind of museum that'll have that stuff.
They already had the GIF exhibit there. I saw it. They had the whole front. When you walked in the entranceway, they basically were using projectors, and there was some sort of installation thing that had like memes all the way down the front. Because most of the walls in the museum and the main areas are white. They're broadcasting this whole, meme GIF type thing all over the front wall behind the ticket booth. I guess in front of the ticket desks or whatever.
Yep. The building's just cool too. Like the stairways are disorienting. Like it's an interesting
There's one
space.
Disorienting stairway. What?
Is there another stairway?
There's the the one you're going to use is that big white one.
Yeah, the disorienting one.
There are like fire escape type ones behind the doors you can use.
Oh yeah,
they're just normal stairwells. Yeah, they're just normal stairwells.
They're not exciting like the disorienting stairway.
Like the one.
You'll see if you've never been there, when you finally get to this museum, you'll see what I mean about that one stairway.
It's just interesting. Like for example, like a lot of like these quirky like indie video game installations that I'll see at places like MagFest, I'll then see at Museum of the Moving Image.
Yep.
Right.
All right. But anyway,
my thing of the day. What about my thing of the day?
That wasn't my thing of the day. That was just news.
Oh, I thought that was.
That pause was so I can just slide the thing of the day thing right in there.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, things of the day. I decided arbitrarily I'm only doing spooky things of the day for the rest of October because why not?
I don't have enough spooky things of the day. So.
Oh, that means I'm gonna have to force it. I'm gonna have to find spooky things. So my thing of the day is a 14-second TikTok, but it encapsulates my love of pranks. Following up from your skeleton prank one a couple days ago. Very simple, classic prank. A prank that my uncle performed on my mom when they were kids to similar effect. A prank that parents and grandparents in my family have performed throughout the years. It's a very simple prank. The caption is, my daughter's upstairs playing Ouija with her friends. And it's obviously a dad, and he's walking around like live streaming on his phone and TikTok, and he goes over to the circuit breaker, and he goes up to the upstairs circuit breaker, and he jiggles it a little bit, and in the distance, you hear a bunch of like 6-year-old girls screaming, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What do you got?
That's it? All right, so I don't know, people are probably aware of this, especially people listening to a Wednesday Geek Night, right? But, Japan has a declining birth rate situation. Their population is getting older, and their population is moving to cities and away from, rural places, right? So you watch a lot of anime or you watch Japanese media, and you'll always see portrayals of like, seaside village or oceanside village or, stuff like that. And those places, like a lot of them are going to like completely disappear as no one lives there anymore, right? I think I read somewhere like what percentage it was they predicted for like the next X years of just abandoned Japanese villages in rural places that like literally no one will live there anymore.
America had a similar revolution. Like there are a lot of ghost towns in the West.
Sure. So another result of this is that, of course, there was a lot of infrastructure built that becomes abandoned. And of course, one of the things that's going to be abandoned when the birth rate declines is schools. You just don't need as many. You had a bunch of schools when you had a bunch of kids, and now you don't have any kids anymore. It's like, well, we don't need all these school buildings anymore. Right?
Because the room of golf is empty.
Right. So I've seen some people actually turn schools into like haunted attractions because, school horror is a genre, right? Mm-hmm. Getting scared in a school building. But here, this video, it's like a travel log video on YouTube by this person, Sherry Y. And they're on this Japanese island, and the island had a school that is now empty. I guess people are moving away from the island, or the population is aging. It's, an example of this happening for real. And instead of being turned into some horror situation, right, like an amusement park, the old abandoned school on the Japanese island has been turned into a lovely cafe. So here's a lovely travelogue video at the abandoned school cafe. And I hope we can see the malls of the United States end up like this and not end up like who knows what.
All right, in the meta moment, we're stuck at home still, so I don't know what you want. We can't really do much except what we're already doing. But I did upload. If you want to see the panel we gave at PAX Online, I've uploaded a director's cut because there were very specific rules and formatting for how I put together the one we actually did sound like pseudo live at PAX. So that one, they have a VOD in the middle of this 8-hour video you can watch. But this is a standalone one, edited and cut together the way we normally edit and cut together our panels. So if you want to see our brand new talk, it's just on YouTube right now. You can just click on it. It's there. That's it. I'll do the same for some of our other talks coming soon.
The book club book is still technically The Tale of Genji, I guess.
The last fiction I've read in my life is still some pages of The Tale of Genji on the train home from PAX.
Same, if you don't count comics or whatever.
Yep, pretty much reading just nonfiction.
Or something on the internet that was a lie that would count as fiction.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, half my Twitter timeline.
Yeah.
So, no cons coming up.
We don't got any more meta than that. You know what the deal is, right?
Yep. Type the word Geek Nights into Google or YouTube. In fact, type the word Geek Nights into any text prompt you have, and something good will come of it.
Something bad. If there's a place on the internet, if there's an app you use, you can find us on that app probably. So, I mean, if you really need our help for that, you already found this podcast.
In fact, if there is an app you use where you think somehow us being on that app would work and enrich your life, and we're not on that app, I want to know what the fuck that app is and why you're using it.
Seriously. All right. Let's just go on with it.
Yep. So
here's, we're on Monday and we're saying, man, we got to do episode Wednesday. What are we going to do it on? I don't know. So we go to Crunchyroll and I click on shows in the top left and I scroll down and I look at all the shows and
I'm doing the same. Scott and I are looking in parallel.
I do what we do, and I'm judging anime by its cover. I'm judging. I'm just judge. And I'm like, nope.
I wanted to watch Decadence, but it's not on C-Roll, so I'm going to wait.
We have heard many people, it's getting to the point where I've heard several people say, something's up with that Decadence show that's worth watching, and now it's on my list. It's in the queue. So maybe if you're out there looking for a show to watch, I can't tell you if it's good or not, but I can tell you the word on the street is that Decadence is a show worth watching.
There's buzz about it, and the buzz is persisting.
Yes, so that is not the show that we were talking about today. I scrolled down, and I saw a very interesting image, because all you're seeing on the Crunchyroll shows page is basically movie posters, right? Sample thumbnails for shows. And it looked really fascinating. It looked somewhat vaporwave.
I was about to say, when you said, you were like, oh, look at this one. And I looked at it. My first thought was, some kind of vaporwave anime? What?
Right. This poster looked with a vaporwave aesthetic because, the statuesque, Greek bust is often used in vaporwave imagery. But no, it was actually about Greek stuff and also about the Olympics. And I was like, oh, is this like a promotional anime for, the Japanese Tokyo Olympics that is somehow incorporating, Greek stuff? But also the look of it gave me strong vibes of the sort of,
gag manga Biori.
Yes, that sort of gag manga Biori nonsense Japanese comedic style that we like a whole lot. So I'm like, well, how about I send Rim and I say, Rim, look at this one. And he's like, that's the one. We're doing a show on that. So here we are. We're going to talk today about what's this thing called?
It is called, we're Extra Olympia Kikilos.
Right, and it's one of those shows where the episodes are only 5 minutes. There are 21 episodes on Crunchyroll as of this moment, but the Wikipedia says there are 24 episodes. I don't know if the remaining 3 are just not out yet, or if they're just not on Crunchyroll yet. And there's also a manga that it's based on.
So the first thing I got to say is that like I actually want to read the description, the official description of the show, because Demetrios was a young man in ancient Greece who was a potter's apprentice, but also rather timid otaku. Despite pursuing the arts, he was blessed with natural athletic talent. One day, he gets dragged into a village conflict. Yada, yada, yada. Somehow he ends up in 1964 Tokyo. It sounds like a typical anime where there's going to be some like plot going on. But then when you watch it, they're 5-minute long episodes. It's a combination of limited animation and stop motion.
It's like claymation, basically.
And when I say 5 minutes, it is 5 minutes, including the full-length opener and full-length closer.
Yeah, everything that happens in ancient Greece is stop-motion claymation. The stuff that happens in modern Japan is the claymation Greek guy with 2D flat Japanese, it's 60s Japan. It's not modern Japan.
Yeah, it's 1964 Tokyo, or
right.
Tokyopolis.
Right, so Tokyopolis 1964, everything's flat and 2D.
You know what it looks like a lot? It really is reminiscent of the animation style of Yamishibai.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's 2D.
Definitely unique.
Like, it's clearly 2D. Like, when the old man, like, turns to look at Demetrios, he's clearly a two-dimensional, like, piece of paper.
Yep. Turning. I mean, there's a scene. I don't think you saw this scene because I don't think you watched this many episodes.
I only got up to episode 12.
They're playing volleyball and they do a parody of was it Attack Number One? Is the Japanese right? Is that what it's called? Attack Number One. Yeah,
I didn't see that
Attack Number
episode.
One is the volleyball anime. There's a very brief scene where they're parodying Attack Number One, and all these basically thin, 2D pictures of volleyball playing high school girls. There are strings you can see that are making them move up and down. Right?
Yeah, you can even see strings when they're throwing the beans at the school festival. Like, you see strings pulling the beans like up and down again.
Yep.
It is super low budget, but I gotta say, it's legit. The show is funny as shit. Like,
how could it not be? You could tell that. We knew that just from the gate.
But there are a lot of shows like this that end up not actually being that funny. Like, the jokes are really telegraphed or they move really slow. Like, I have seen short, quirky-looking shows like this that just aren't actually that good.
What was the one where the guy was an alien and was like just really, really good at everything in life? And he was like a student.
The prince whatever, like he was the prince of the school.
I forget what it was called, even though I watched the whole thing.
Only the first episode was funny, and then it just kind of petered out.
Right, but then you have other ones like Cromartie, which just stay good the whole time.
Yep, this is more like Cromartie. It is just, if you think you see where it's going, it kind of just rolls past that. It jumps all over the place.
However, while having that same sort of Japanese humor style as Cromartie, there is a contiguous plot that makes sense and they stick with it and follow on it. It's just that all of the interactions with that plot are these, ridiculous characters acting ridiculously, but the main, story and motivation.
The mayor, who's a greedy piece of shit.
Right. There's a mayor in the town. They're in a poor oceanside village, right? And the mayor wants money. And there's, they want to hold an Olympic-style event to make money.
Because he heard other people are having Olympics. Why don't we have some Olympics? Right. Demetrios, you suck at your job. Make the Olympics happen instead.
Right. And there's all sorts of conflicts involving, like, Spartans who are way too strong and
scary.
Spartans
are really funny.
Right. There are the people who hold the actual Olympics, right, coming after them. And you think, oh, this is a show like that's sponsored somehow by the actual Olympics. Like, it's like, no, it is not. This show is like basically calling out in several episodes, like how, the Olympics is tainted by sponsorship. The Olympic Committee is overbearing with its intellectual property and strong-arming people, right?
It's also calling out ancient Greece. It has this whole bit where it's like, the Olympics were great, except for women who weren't allowed to participate.
Yep. It's like on the one hand,
the bear's like, I worked really hard today. I had to tell two different slaves what to do.
Exactly. On the one hand, it's sort of a Punch-Out-esque, almost racist, exaggerated, stereotypical depiction of ancient Greece. But also, there's like these nuggets of truth constantly bringing out, right, teaching you actual real things about ancient Greece that are. It's like, that was true.
But I guess why it's so funny is like the weird art style kind of just fits and you just roll with it. Like, you don't even notice it after we watch a couple episodes. Like, it works. But the jokes are actually, they're not only like legit funny, but they're pretty dark and often extremely mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the characters are mostly jerks to each other, except the old guy who is weirdly patient with his naked Greek man and keeps popping into his house.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think that's that's if every single character in ancient Greece, except maybe Apollonia, right, is sort of ridiculous in some way. The 1964 Japan is like the straight man. It's like, instead of having, the comedy where there's, the straight man and the not straight person, right? Here you have the funny man, right?
Yep.
Here you've got the ancient Greece is the funny man. It's two different settings. And 1960s Japan is the not funny, right?
I love the old man is just like,
everyone there has common sense, right?
Like, where did you come from? Oh, I guess we're speaking ancient Greek, so I guess you're from Greece. All right, whatever. Do you want to come to the school festival?
Right. Everyone in Japan, even the kid is just like, oh, you want my baseball card? Go ahead. Right. They're just acting like normal people. They're not weird in any way, and they're very tolerant of the one visitor from ancient times.
But like an example of the mean humor. So the Demetrios, his job is to paint vases and just paint, the typical
amphoras and amphoras and hydrias.
Yeah, Greek vase filled with stuff, and you got those paintings on the side. And Demetrios sucks at it. Like, he is famously bad at this.
Well, I mean, he's bad at it in that he's not doing it in the way that you see in museums, right? It's actually like, I couldn't draw like that. It's actually a really good drawing, but it's an intentionally silly and out of style and out of character drawing for the side of a Greek vase, and that's why it's bad.
So you get to the future, and the old man has one of his vases that like survived through the ages, like thousands of years. And he's like, oh, my art. And the guy's like, it's shit, but it was painted 2,400 years ago. It's honestly so shitty that I hate leaving something so shitty out, but it is valuable. And he's just like crying the whole time. There's a lot of dick jokes too. Like lot of dick jokes.
So my favorite joke is actually the recurring joke. The opener to this show is the same every time. It's the same. I skipped after I watched it a couple times. It's an a cappella
William Tell overture while they have done stop motion animation with Greek plates, basically.
Right. So basically, I was, after the first few times seeing it, just to save time and get through the show faster, I would skip it's exactly 30 seconds long. So I just skipped to the 30-second mark. But the closer to the show,
it's a GOG Manga BRE closer.
It is different every single time. There is this character who's like, someone so Greek name, the Bard, and it's this clay dude with a lute, I guess, or a harp, or whatever, something like that. Yeah, something like that. And he sings a completely different song that is a completely different topic, right? And that song teaches you something, kind of. Or
at least is a sardonic take on something.
Right. Or it like the song always has, like, you have to watch the full closer. The closer is telling you something that's usually relevant to the episode you just watched or about to watch, or about ancient Greece or something. And they sing a whole song that's a different song every time. It's like and they put behind in the background while this claymation guy is singing, stock footage, public domain footage.
There's this one actor who they keep using to portray Zeus, but he kind of looks like Jesus.
Yeah, there's people, I think the people who worked on the show are they often just put on like Sparta helmets and do stuff in the background. So it's like the closer is like, you're looking forward to it. It's like, oh, what are they going to do for the closer this time? It's like exciting stuff.
But yeah, so the Greek guy just keeps going back and forth in time between 1964 Tokyo and ancient Greece. And
he does it a lot. Like, it's not like a special one-time thing. It's basically like he's just doing it constantly.
Well, at first it happens mysteriously every episode, but eventually the mayor's like, get fucking back in there to that Tokyopolis or whatever and figure some shit out for me.
Yep. But it does draw, it's like, on the one hand, it's so silly, but on the other hand, that they are drawing like these straight comparisons of, things happening in 60s Japan and things happening in ancient Greece to show you, like, yeah, this thing from ancient Greece is happening in 60s Japan and is still happening today. It's like, you had, the ancient pentathlon, and now you have the modern pentathlon. Yep. This is where modern pentathlon comes from. And I'm like, I knew about modern pentathlon already, but if I didn't, this would be educational.
Yeah, well, especially because it makes a lot of like sort of side subtle points. Like there's this bit where he's designing new games, and in ancient Greece, they are stupid games because he's not good at this. So the mayor throws them all in the ocean. In the future, all of those paintings he made had been found, and historians were reading way too much into them.
Mm-hmm.
There's also like it gets oddly maudlin a couple of times. Like I think it was episode 9 where randomly the old man's just like, yeah, you want to come to the movies with me? And then they watch movies about like World War II and war. And then,
because the ancient Greek guy, right, is that the story they tell, at least, is that in ancient Greece, most of the wars were not very bloody. Like you would just like
there were a lot of ceremonial wars, depending on what era you're looking at.
Yeah, or at least not that many people died. They probably got injured, probably plenty, right?
Yep.
But
and you got the buff dude who's like,
say that there weren't any bloody wars, right? But
the mayor's like, war is great when I win, but it sucks when I lose. And then the war guy comes, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna loot a bunch of stuff.
The main character Demetrius really doesn't like conflict and war and fighting, right, at all, even if it's fake. And he, at one point, it seems like a war. He's managed to avoid war somehow, even with Spartans for so long, with his, clever or somewhat not clever ways. And eventually, the war looks like it's actually going to happen for real, and he super doesn't want it to happen. He goes to Tokyo and he asks a guy in 60s Japan, right? How do I stop war? And the guy takes him to the movie theater and shows him actual war movies.
It's like the whole second half of that episode. So it's about 2 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, we lost a war. We haven't had a war since. He's like, well, when are you gonna have another one? He's like, we hopefully aren't gonna have another one.
The line he says is, I don't think we'll go to war anymore. And then it's just like the episode just gets maudlin, and the guy sits through this movie on war, and the old man just says one more thing. He's like, not all of mankind's advancements are great.
Yep. And it's like, it's such a silly show. They take the time out of their 5-minute episode to do that, right?
And then it cuts to the crazy closer. I think that one's about Trepion.
Yeah. And then the next episode, he starts out immediately, right? It picks up where it left off. He's like, oh my God, war is really bad. I can't let it happen. He's even more desperate to avoid the impending war in ancient Greece. Because he's seen how bad war is in 1940.
Yep. So in terms of like how this show got made in the studio, because I loved it. Like, this show is great. Like, if you're an anime fan, this is the exact kind of weird crap to watch that you're not going to see anywhere else. Like, this is the
stuff that we are so lucky that someone is like Crunchyroll. It's like, how much money are they making on this? Like the effort put in to subtitle and distribute this. Does that really help?
Less than 100 people have even bothered to put a star on this show in Crunchyroll.
Right. So the fact that this is even subtitled for consumption by anyone anywhere that, I wonder where, like, is it to watch this in Japan? Is it like on TV at like a specific moment, like between 2 TV shows for 5 minutes, like at midnight or something? Like, who even knows how it's broadcast there? But it's like, to put in the effort and to pay for this, we are so lucky that someone has done this.
Yep.
Even in fan sub days, would a fan subber have found this, been able to get the video of it and subtitle it?
It would have been like the rare tape that gets screened at an anime con at midnight, and there's no other way to see it.
Like the one guy who knows, right? No one would even know about it.
Yep. So I tried to figure out.
There's probably so many shows like this that we don't know about.
So I tried to figure out more about like where it came from. So like a lot of the people associated with the show don't even have their own pages on the Anime News Network. But the creator of the manga that this is based on, or at least the creator of the story, Mari Yamazaki. Mari Yamazaki actually is known for a few other things that we might have talked about, like that Roman bath manga.
Yeah, it's a manga. I don't know if it was ever animated. Thermae Rome. I don't know how to pronounce it properly.
Not only it had a manga.
Romae.
It had a manga, a TV show, and a live-action movie, and then a sequel to the live-action movie.
I know about it, but I never actually watched it. I think I read like a few pages of it in a bookstore once because the cover looks really awesome, right? Because it's the same style art on the cover.
It's kind of the same plot, like
it's kind of the same plot. There's a Roman dude who has there's a pathway in the Roman bathhouse that like takes him to like a Japanese bathhouse. It's sort of like a connection.
Yeah.
And then he sort of brings the Japanese bath stuff to Rome. And this is sort of the same thing. You have a guy, an ancient Greek guy, connecting with Japan to bring sporting stuff to ancient Greece.
So she also did the Steve Jobs manga, which I knew existed. I knew it existed. I was under the impression the Steve Jobs manga was a serious,
straightforward biography.
It is based on Steve Jobs' biography, but it's like a manga version of it.
Oh, so it's not a ridiculous one.
Nope, it's just straight as far as I can tell.
It's not like, teleporting to Japan to get ideas to put in an Apple II or something.
I mean, Thermae Aromae is also like played pretty straight from what I've read of it.
Oh, okay. I thought it was ridiculous like this is.
I think it's a lot less ridiculous than this. This is like maximum ridiculous. So
I was slightly questioning. There was an episode of this show that we're talking about today, right, where the closing song was about Nero, the Roman emperor, and how he cheated at the Olympics. So that was the tie-in, but I'm like, hey, that's Rome, not Greece. What are you doing?
Remember, the Romans were obsessed with Greece and tried to mirror their culture.
They were indeed.
In fact, one anecdote I remember learning in high school was that Alexander the Great wanted to participate in some equivalent of the games, and they wouldn't let him because he wasn't Greek enough. He had to prove that even though he was from Macedon, he had enough Greek heritage. There was a whole thing.
I'll prove it with a sword up your ass. Knowing him.
The anime studio doesn't appear to have made any other anime. Nobishiro Lab. I couldn't find any info about them, so I ended up going to their actual website, which has a demo reel and a few things. I don't know if the studio is just one dude, but the studio seems to be a studio for hire type situation that'll make experiences and things. All I'm saying is if we ever want to make the Geek Nights anime, I kind of want to hire the studio to make it.
That's all you.
But seriously,
a podcaster gets teleported to the ancient days of Japanese radio to learn from.
That would be great. Or an ancient Japanese, we keep saying ancient Japanese radio. Someone doing old-timey radio.
Radio is ancient.
Well, I mean, ancient by what definition? The 20s are not that ancient. Your definition? Yes. I guess kids today are the 80s were an ancient time.
People today, a lot of people today just don't even listen to radio, right?
It's true. Well, that makes it archaic. It doesn't necessarily make it ancient. Anyway, I don't see any reason. If you're listening to Geek Nights anime, because we don't review the kinds of anime that the other anime podcasts tend to do usually.
We'll probably review the Decadence someday.
Yeah, but if you listen to Geek Nights for your anime reviews, this is a show you must watch.
Yeah, this is a show.
If you're here listening to this now, Wednesdays are the least popular Geek Nights night. We have curated a particular audience of people who like a particular kind of show. Just go watch the show right now. It'll take you an hour or two to watch everything and you're done.
They're 5-minute episodes and you skip the first 30 seconds. What's 20 times 4.5, right? 21 times 4.5. It'll take you 94 minutes. As long as it takes to watch one movie, a short movie, a normal length movie, you can watch all 21 episodes of this on Crunchyroll.
If we had discovered this show when we were running the RT Anime Club, we would definitely have shown it immediately at the next meeting. We would have canceled whatever we had on the schedule.
We would have shown the entire show.
We would have shown the entire show. Of course, with the openers. We showed the fucking opener to Risky Safety every episode. Of course, we'd show this opener.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing.